Welcome to Highly Sensitive, Happily Married, the podcast that teaches you to not only have an easier marriage as a sensitive woman, but to have one that feels more amazing by the day. Where you'll hear relatable stories, love advice that works, and coaching on how to have a marriage where feeling upset and disconnected is a thing of the past, and where instead a sense of loving connection and even fun and lightness is the norm. I'm Hannah Brooks, highly sensitive person, love expert, and marriage coach, and I'm so happy to be on this journey with you. Hey, welcome to episode 185, where we are going to talk about the role of respect in intimate relationships and marriages, and why respect matters, and especially how you can bring it into the relationship. I'm going to give you 10 specific things to do and ways to communicate to cultivate more mutual respect and ultimately love, and give you a whole bunch of background as to why this is so important, as well as what leads to disrespect and ultimately division in an intimate relationship. But first, some quick news. Coming up on May 4th, that's in a couple or a few weeks, I am going to be running once again a live version of the Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days challenge. It's probably the only time I'm going to run it this year, and it's only $37. This is a special opportunity to go through the challenge, go through this course, not only with the support of the momentum that you get by having my daily emails and my presence in the course site and the whole group going through it, right? So there's going to be a lot of accountability, a lot of energy, a lot of momentum. And you're also going to get to be able to ask me personally your questions and get answers. So this is a rare opportunity to really get my personal attention while you build connection and closeness and loving intimacy between you and your honey with just very simple, strategic, proven to work things for you to do each and every day that don't take a lot of time. So to learn all about the course and to get access, head over to hspmarriagecoaching.com and click the courses tab. You'll see the Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days challenge there. You can go ahead and purchase it now, so you're going to be totally ready to get rolling when we start on May 4th. And just so you know, if you've bought this course in the past, you are also welcome to participate in this with no further purchase required. Get excited. I'm excited for everyone who's joining to really come away with a lot more connection and closeness. All right, with no further ado, let's jump in. So here's the thing. What we all want in our intimate relationships, deep down, is to feel loved. And what I have found, and research confirms, is that many men know that they are loved by their wife, but don't actually feel liked, don't feel appreciated, don't feel respected. And while feeling unloved is a common complaint for women, for men, it's feeling disrespected. For most men, feeling respected is how they feel loved. Feeling appreciated and seen as trustworthy and capable is how they feel loved. What really softens a man's heart and paves the way to emotional intimacy and connection, and to you feeling loved and valued and cherished the way you want by your man, is giving him your respect and your trust and your confidence so he feels safe and capable when he's around you. There has even been at least one study that says men would rather be with someone who respects them but doesn't actually love them deeply than with someone that loves them but often shows them disrespect. So really take that in for a minute. So yeah, respect is perhaps the primary love language for many men. Now, the question then might be for you, what really is respect? And I want to clarify this because I think respect may not be exactly what you think. I think it has some connotations, or we've misinterpreted what it means to mean something kind of icky. And it's easy to get confused about what respect really is. So I want you to hear this. Respect is absolutely not obeying or being obedient, which I think some people misconstrue it as. It's not about being meek or giving yourself up or bowing down to your partner. It's not about compliance. It's not just something we give to authority figures. Your husband is not your authority figure. And it is also not about agreement. We can respect someone who we do not agree with. Respect is also not the same as being sweet. Yes, being respectful can mean being kind, but I'm not saying you have to be sweet to be respectful. I mean, being sweet is lovely at times. You can absolutely be respectful without being sweet. And I'd say that my husband feels very respected by me, but I'd also say that I'm very much of a strong woman with my husband. I can be firm and clear and boundaried with my husband and respectful at the same time. And that's true for you too. More than anything, respect is about accepting another human being as they are, not judging that their way is worse than yours. The dictionary defines respect like this: to have due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of, to avoid harming or interfering with. And the antonym for respect is contempt or disdain. So, respect can also include admiration, but I don't think it has to. I think this is why I like to include the word acceptance or not judging. But you also can admire your husband for many things while not liking certain things he does. In other words, when I say men need to feel respected, to feel loved, I'm not saying you need to like everything about him, but there needs to be an overall acceptance of who he is and a conveying of a sense that you see he is worthy of your healthy regard and that he is generally capable in your eyes. Now, for many reasons in this day and age, we women don't always feel or show respect in a way that our male partners can receive, especially when we're feeling that they haven't loved us super well. With like 85% of my clients, I hear about that snappy or sort of harsh tone of voice that they can easily fall into using with their husband. And they admit that they know that they're communicating disdain or judgment or criticism. So it's common to communicate or convey disrespect. And the truth is, it really is easy to become critical of our partners over time or sort of more disrespectful. And this can even be more true if you're highly sensitive because of a variety of reasons related to our trait. As I've mentioned many times before on the podcast, HSPs are wired to easily see flaws and focus on them. I often say flaws loom large to us as HSPs. And just being human beings in general, HSP or non-HSP, we all have a negativity bias that focuses 2/3 more on the negative than on the positive. So yeah, it's easy to convey disrespect, especially after the rosy glow of early love wears off. So if you're struggling, if you're like listening to this podcast and you're like, yeah, I think I might convey disrespect somewhat or somewhat often, you're not alone. You're not alone. And it doesn't make you bad. But to make your marriage better, you're going to want to start conveying a lot more respect. And we're going to talk about that. But if you're listening and you're like, I'm not so sure I convey disrespect, I want to dive into a little bit more of what does actually convey disrespect, because it can be more multifaceted than I have yet let on. And I want you to be aware of it so you can nip it in the bud, because you're going to need to if you want a loving, connected relationship where you feel like a treasured queen to your partner, which is what I really want for you. And yes, that's so much more likely when your man feels truly respected. All right, so what shows disrespect? What conveys disrespect? Well, the most obvious thing is what I've called the backfiring tactics. If you haven't gotten to listen to episode 159, where I talk all about the backfiring tactics, I highly, highly recommend listening to that one. But the backfiring tactics include controlling, unconstrained self-expression. That's like blaming and criticizing and shaming and being hypercritical and complaining and scolding. Yeah. The backfiring tactics also include defending and retaliation. So there's a bunch to say on each of these. So again, listen to episode 159 to understand those more in depth. It also shows disrespect when you dismiss your partner's opinions or thoughts, or contradict him, or even try to teach him, without his consent, how to do things better, or really just your way. I see that a lot. We want our person to do things our way because we think our way is better. This oftentimes feels really disrespectful when we go about it sort of in our sort of instinctual ways. Nitpickiness, helpful suggestions and telling him what to do, like, hey, don't put that there, it goes in the other drawer. Those convey disrespect. And anything that has even a hint of condescension can really lead to them feeling disrespected. Meddling, not acknowledging, always needing to be right or make him wrong, or convincing him that your way is right, or not considering his opinion. Maybe I already said that. Not considering his way as valid, interrupting or talking over your partner. All of these things also convey disrespect. I'm sure there's more, but that's what I've got for you today. So why is this not so good for your relationship? I mean, I think you all know this instinctively, intuitively, in your wise big heart, right? If he feels disrespected, if you're exhibiting these behaviors, or if you're doing these things, he's likely, whether consciously or unconsciously, to feel disrespected. And underneath that, oftentimes with that, comes a sense of resentment. And he might kind of go underground, meaning like hiding out and avoiding you or withdrawing. That's one thing that might result from you being disrespectful in these ways. Or because offense can often seem like the best defense, he might be quick to anger over trivial things or even say hurtful things to you out of the blue. This is often a sign that he's simply hurt and feeling disrespected or rejected himself. And I should pause here and say that feeling disrespected can feel like hurt, right? It can feel like rejection. Although showing that they're hurt is kind of socialized out of men, men are just as easily hurt as we are. Despite our misleading belief that men are tough or numb or emotionally not really there, when a man feels disrespected, it does take a toll on him. And the result is he feels ill at ease, he feels unloved, he feels resentful, and not nearly as loving to you. And I think this one's so fascinating and so important. Research shows that if he feels those things, he is going to be less willing to change for us. He's going to be less willing to change for you or do what you want. So you're going to have a lot harder time kind of getting him on board with what you want and having him love you in the way you want to be loved, or teaching him how to truly show up for you in a way that's most fulfilling, right? Also, when you show a lack of respect, it tends to mean that you have some judgment going on, right? And that judgment inside of you is always going to get in the way of connection, of openness, of really presence, and really seeing this person, your partner, fully, which means it's going to cut you off from your heart, from your capacity to love. And you can't be close from there, from a cut off, closed down heart. So yeah, not respecting gets you less of what you want, including less of a sense of being respected, and probably less self-respect too, which might be the most important thing, because I know as a conscientious, deep feeling, sensitive woman, you want to treat your partner lovingly. You feel good when you're in integrity, when you love. So if you want him to be more loving, if you want to feel even better about yourself, If you want him to be more willing to do what you want and you want to have more connection with your partner, respect is the prescription. It will pave the way to the relationship you really want with him. Now, I am not saying you should respect everything your spouse does. But to have a general, healthy dose of it and to show it regularly matters. Showing respect and also unconditional love, like I talked about last episode. This is actually kind of quite connected with that episode. Showing respect, being respectful is a healing balm. Or we could go so far as to say it's an aphrodisiac for our men, right? Us showing respect. I'm always so excited to hear how after my clients infuse their ways of relating to their spouse with a lot more respect and love, their partners start reciprocating it. They start becoming so much easier to be around, doing things like apologizing and taking ownership for things that they never would have before, and actively loving their wives in ways that my clients had longed for years. Like complimenting them, like telling them how much they love them, like bringing them flowers, like writing love notes that they leave on the dining room table, like wining and dining them, and just being so happy to be around them. In my own experience, my husband lights up and adores me when I consistently show him respect. And in those times that I'm a little less good at it, which can happen every once in a while, he tends to be more closed off. And even get not so fun to be around, harder to be around, more argumentative, and all those things. So I have found it's well worth it to choose to be the one who goes first and leads respect into the relationship, because it pays me back, because I feel better, our relationship feels better, he feels better. It's really a win-win, and it's not a lot of skin off my back to be respectful. So before I tell you about what to do to promote and build more respect, I have a question for you to contemplate, which is, in what ways have you been less than respectful in your relationship? I invite you to take a moment and really consider and see those places, as most of us could improve in this area. And even though it can feel humbling to see how we're contributing to the less than loving dynamics in our relationship, that same awareness is what allows us to start changing things to our liking. So feel free to pause this episode and consider that. Where have you been less than respectful in your relationship in general, or maybe even just recently? Now, if you don't have tons of answers, you might come up with some more as I give you the things that actually promote respect. So let's dive into what will bring respect more alive in your relationship right now. At first, I'm just going to give you some really generalized ideas, and then I'm going to give you 10 specific things. So first and foremost, what promotes respect is just plain decency. Treating your partner at least as well as you would treat someone you don't know, right? Think about that. It's like sometimes it's easier to be respectful to a stranger. So treat your partner at least that well. Kindly, respectfully, without condescension, with assuming the best. Generally, just let him be him instead of meddling and therefore showing you don't trust or that you look down on his ways. Generally, stay out of his business or his side of the street and focus on your own. Like I go into detail about in episode 141. That's called Whose Business Am I In? And that's a really good one to listen to because I think it's so easy as women to, by accident, get into our partner's business, and that can feel really disrespectful. Not to mention exhausting for us. All right, so that's just sort of like the generalized tips. Now I want to get much more specific and give you 10 ways to be respectful with your partner and communicate in ways that promote more respect and trust and therefore intimacy. Are you ready? Feel free to write these ones down. Number 1, accept that he does things differently and thinks differently than you do, instead of telling him what and how to do things and trying to change him. Hopefully that made sense. When you try to tell him how to do things and what to do and you try to change him, that leaves him feeling incapable and not respected. Now, hear this part. You can always ask if he'd be open to learning about how you do things or how you'd love to see things done, right? You can always ask that. And if he gives consent, then of course, teach him what you like. Teach him the way you prefer things done. Yeah. But forcing it on him and telling him like, this is the way it has to be, that's not respectful. All right. Number 2, honor that his opinion may be different than yours, but this doesn't make it wrong or less than yours. So allow without judging his choices for his life, both big and small, even if you don't like or agree with them. Allow his ways, even if you don't agree that those ways are the right ways for you. One example is one of my clients who I've called Jenna. She really thought that the way she handled emotions was so much better than her partner's. And the way that her partner handled emotions was immature. And as we worked on accepting that his ways were different, not necessarily worse, not necessarily better, she was able to actually start understanding how his ways, he actually had something important to teach her in how to handle her own emotions that would work better for her. In other words, she started to see, okay, his ways are not wrong. In fact, there's nuggets of wisdom in there that I could actually use myself. So different, not necessarily better or worse again, right? Okay, some of these are kind of similar and overlap, but it was kind of hard to pull them apart into completely separate things. So number 3 is listen to your partner without interrupting or making helpful suggestions or giving tips. Hear out his ideas, giving him space to express himself while being present and open to what he's sharing. Again, you don't have to like or agree with what he's sharing, but openly taking in what he's sharing is respectful. Number 4, kind of to continue this, if you disagree with him, you do not need to say it outright. You don't need to like everything he says or agree with everything he says to be loving and respectful. You can simply say, I hear you, or you could be right. And here's the fun thing about that. That can buy you time and space to cultivate more of a sense of respect by putting yourself in your partner's shoes and trying to see how they could see things as they do. I think it's so easy to fall into only being able to see that our way is the right way, or to only seeing our side of the story. And it can be really hard to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and see why they might see things and have the opinions that they do. But when we slow down and we do put ourselves in their shoes and we do try to understand things from their perspective, it can be really illuminating, and we can start to feel more respect for the ways that they see the world. Yeah? Number 5, use a respectful tone, even if you're upset. And yes, I know this can be hard, but it is doable. I've learned to do this over time. If you can do this with your kids, which I think can be easier for some of us to really have the patience and self-control to use respectful tones with our children. If you can do it with your kids, if you can do it with strangers, then you can do it with your spouse, and it's worth the effort it takes. Please understand, I'm not saying fake sweetness. I'm saying restrain yourself from the judgment and the righteousness and the kind of harshness that can come out when we're upset, right? And use a respectful tone. This is going to make conflicts, conversations so much easier. All right, number 6, assume your spouse has good intentions towards you. It's so easy to fall prey to bad othering and making your partner into the enemy. And then the disrespect can just ooze out of us. Right? So if you're like, what does bad othering mean? And what does making him into the enemy mean? You got to check out episode 172. This bad othering thing is one of the most common problems we find in intimate relationships that conveys disrespect and leads to division. And it's also maybe the biggest problem in the world right now that's destroying societies and ecosystems and just so much in our world right now. So, episode 172, get on it. All right, number 7, apologize when you did criticize or you did take over or take control, or you did contradict, or you did dismiss, or you did become bossy or controlling, or you realize you may have disrespected him in his opinion. Apologize each time. You can take it further by saying the magic words that relationship coach trainer Laura Doyle swears by, which are, I apologize for being disrespectful. I've done it. I've said those exact words. They might feel a little awkward coming out of the mouth, but I promise it really does work like magic. And it puts a smile on my husband's face when before there was just like distance and Apologies on their own are awesome, but if you can add that, I apologize for being disrespectful, it can be really powerful. All right, number 8, expect your partner to do things well and act accordingly. So this is a little bit more for those of you who feel like your partner needs you to do most of the things, or you're the more capable one in various ways in your relationship, or even you kind of see him as like more childlike and you as more parent-like. If you stop expecting him to do poorly or thinking that you're the one who's more capable, and you start expecting him to do things well and you start acting accordingly, this is going to make him feel more trusted and more capable, and he'll start stepping up and actually being more capable. It's going to give him the confidence he needs to fulfill your more positive expectations. And along those same lines is number 9. If you've trained your partner to always ask for your approval on any decisions, show him that you trust him and respect him by giving him back some power. So like when the decision is his business and not very consequential for you, like maybe he's coming to you to ask if he should wear this particular tie out tonight, or what he should cook for dinner because it's his night to cook dinner. Instead of deciding for him, right, when he's asking you, what do you think? You can just say, I trust your judgment. See that? It gives him a sense of, I can do this. I'm capable of making these decisions. She trusts me. She respects my choices. That's powerful. All right, number 10, and the final suggestion for today, find ways to appreciate him and celebrate him. Acknowledge when he does something you like with a thank you or a positive comment. That's big. I find that the magic words thank you are really respect building. They also remind me that my partner are, in fact, separate beings, each deserving of gratitude. And, in the routines of daily life and delegating of tasks, it's really all too easy to let these little gratitudes, these little appreciations fall out of habit, or to just not do them at all, right? So don't let them fall out of habit. Bring thank you back into your daily life for tasks as simple as doing the dishes or passing the potatoes at the table. Even if they are agreed on responsibilities, like my husband tends to do the dishes after dinner. That's like how we've delegated chores. I still say thank you. Yeah. And certainly for bigger things like being a kind dad or sharing his body and affection with you and love, like it's a beautiful moment to say thank you. Really just fill your speech with small gratitudes to your partner. It's going to remind him you care and that you respect him and who he is, and he'll want to reciprocate. Now, please remember, as with always when I'm giving this sort of advice, if you start being more respectful today, it's not like he's going to instantly reciprocate necessarily. It can take a little while or a long while of consistently being respectful, because it's so interesting, but sometimes our partner just doesn't even notice for a while because they're so used to the way things used to be. It's like the old way is cemented in their brain as reality, and they don't see the true reality that's changed in front of their eyes. So when you're persistent and consistent for a while, that's when the magic starts happening. All right. So now that I've listed those 10 things that help build and promote respect, what are you going to try to do differently now? I advise that you start with just a few of these at first, like choose 1, 2, or maybe 3 that feel like the ones you most want to work on first. Instead of going for all 10, that might be overwhelming. So choose 3 or less and really do them. That's the most important thing. Even just 1, if you choose 1 and really do it, it's going to be a lot better than half-heartedly doing 3 or 10. And then as you get better at that one, add in a few more. Just keep it up until you really feel like in your heart, in your deepest knowing, that you really are showing respect. And watch how things truly shift in your relationship over time and how your partner starts showing you more respect and love and adoration too. Now, I know that I may have made it sound easy, but the reality is it's not as easy as it sounds for many of us. Actually, for some of you, this might be really easy. And I'm excited for that, for those of you who that feels true for. For some of you, it might be harder. Some of us, we have more stuff that can make being respectful hard. And therefore, it can take some real work on yourself to bring this respect in, to lead this respect and ultimately love into your relationship. And especially if this episode's made you think, but what if I just really don't see much to respect in him? So yeah, I've heard that a few times for sure. My answer for that is, in most cases, there actually is plenty to respect in another human being, especially if you once upon a time saw lots you really liked and respect in him. Now, it can take seeing beyond the piles of resentments and grievances and hurts that may have built up in your relationship. It can take removing barriers inside of yourself to loving and respecting and seeing this human being as respect-worthy. And to be totally honest, sometimes if you really don't respect most things about him, and I said most things about him, the best thing may be to just move on. But often, especially if you know he's a genuinely good guy, there is a lot you can do to build a sense of real respect back up. It just takes some conscious effort and usually some solid support. The good news is that almost always, as you make changes in the way you interact with him, which may mean changes in the way you feel about him, and as you make changes in the way you treat him, and you do that with more respect, you will make it possible for him to feel good about himself and much more loving towards you, right? He'll feel safe to let down his guard and be kinder and share his most personal thoughts and ideas with you. And it's in those moments that tenderness can come in and you'll find intimacy and real connection and love again. And this is all why I have my courses and my coaching program, to help you remove barriers in yourself to respecting and loving, and to build in the acceptance and respect and fondness and love and connection so that you can really have the relationship you want with your partner. It takes conscious attention, but it is so well worth it. So I hope that that's been really helpful, gives you some concrete places to start building more respect. And if you want some real support, my direct support, as well as the energy and motivation you get from being part of a group doing this work together, join my live Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days challenge coming up in early May. Once again, it's probably the only time I'm going to run it live this year, and it's only $37. This is sort of silly of me to price it so low because it's actually a really beautiful, comprehensive, and transformational, like truly marriage transformational program, little course. Again, we start May 4th. There's going to be a live call with me where I'll answer your questions, and I'm going to be guiding you through the whole wonderful week of building connection and love between you and your honey. So to learn more about that and get access to that and be part of that really fun, connecting week, head over to the show notes for this. I'll put the direct link there, or you can go to my website, hspmarriagecoaching.com, and click the courses and events tab. You'll see Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days there, and you'll have all the info there to join us. All right, my lovely ones. I can't wait for you to feel the positive snowball effect that happens when you infuse your relationship with more conscious attention and more loving respect. And be